What's paper? Is it paper or is it next week?
It's on Monday.
Is it Monday? Oh, yeah.
Good.
It's not my fault here.
Okay, I'll call our special public meeting for Wednesday, November 6, 2019 to order. Welcome, everybody. There's only one really agenda item. And could I get a motion to adopt agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Over seconder, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. All right, Councillor Power.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess the only piece of business for this meeting is the Committee of the Whole minutes, which were for some glitch, I guess, didn't get uploaded on Monday night past, so we had to call the special meeting to clear off this piece of business that should have been done Monday. The first item is the expansion to the community centre parking lot, and I think we all know that parking lot is badly needed based on the volumes that we expect there and some recent experiences in terms of the number of people who come and fill the smaller parking lot and the need for others. So anyway, there's a motion here, and the motion reads: the Town of Torbay award tender TF 1969411 new parking lot and parking lot lighting for the recreation centre to the low bidder Wares Construction at a cost of $498,073.63, HST included. So moved.
Second.
Over seconder.
It's great that you get the first kick at the cat, isn't it? Right? There is much discussion around this, and I'm a firm believer that the parking lot certainly needs to go ahead and certainly needs to be paved, but I think at this point in time for the winter season, I think we should actually cancel the tender and look at putting crushed stone on that until we review it again during the budget process and the new year. So that would be my recommendation on that.
There's already a seconder.
Oh, is that?
No, I'm just saying,
Well, we're just talking about the motion.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So, anybody else have any comments on that? Tony, are you wanting to amend the motion? Is that what you're
well,
doing?
if all we have to do is vote against it, and it won't pass, right? So.
Yeah. So you're recommending?
But I recommend that we do. I honestly believe we have to do something, and I would like to get council's consensus here tonight that we actually have to do something with that land and at least put a heavy coating of crushed stone there so we can use it for the winter season and see what it looks like during the budget process. And I also will be pushing to have it paved. But once we get all our ducks in a row, we can go there next year.
Okay. All right.
I'll support the motion to cancel it. I do agree with Councillor Pollard on this recommendation. I think crushed stone would be fine for now.
All right.
And I think it's, winter's around the turn and we don't have it budgeted, so I'd support Councillor Pollard.
All right. Fair enough. All right.
I actually agree with Councillor Pollard. Thank you very much. Actually, thank you for council for meeting. I know we didn't have this in the package on Friday through a technical glitch, so I'm really glad that we took the time to do this. And I agree with Councillor Pollard. It's a lot of money to spend unbudgeted just shortly before we do our full budget consultations. And I think by cancelling this tender and then going forward with kind of stopgap measure, we can take the full $500,000 here and we can analyze it and consult with the public in a broader context of what we can possibly do next year in 2020. We'll have a little bit more money to kind of see what we can do. Right? It could be, if it's $100,000 for crushed stone right now, that's $400,000 next year. We can fill every pothole in town, or whatever X or Y may be. So I think it's a really prudent call on behalf of council, or I guess on behalf of Councillor Pollard to recommend voting against the motion. I'll be voting against it.
Okay.
I'll be voting against it as well because I think that we do need to step back after we get it started first and then look and see where we're going for next year and we can get together, as like everybody said, and once our budget is produced, and see where we're going.
Okay.
But I would like for it to come ahead again, you know, bring it forward again.
Very good. Mary?
I agree, I think it's way too late in the year to consider anyway paving.
Don't forget your microphone. Microphone.
I agree, I think it's way too late in the year to look at, even if it was something that we want to venture into, the time for paving is way past due.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't have much else to add. I mean, I agree with Councillor Pollard that, and the rest of the council, when we discussed that we're in agreement that the parking lot needs to be done, that we need it. We've already witnessed over the last month that community center has been operation, that we've had to use shuttle buses and stuff to get people to go there. And we're hoping that we're going to have large crowds at that place, and we're going to program it to that way. And so I'm fully in favor of doing something with the parking lot for temporary for the winter, and then moving forward in the spring on this. We'll talk about it during the budget. So with that, back to you, sir. Call question. All in favor? Aye.
Sorry, no. We're voting, so it should be nays now if you're voting
Yes,
against.
okay, all in favor?
No.
No. Against?
Aye.
Right. There you go, nay, whatever. It's the first time I voted no against something, so I've been there for 6 years.
I think you're right, Mr. Mayor. I don't think I've ever seen you vote no.
Just on the heels of that, are we able to agree to a motion to have CAL go and get quotes for crushed stone for the parking lot for the winter season, and do what needs to be done to make it at least usable from now till we make the larger decision on how we actually want to go with the parking lot?
I second that.
Seconder, okay. I don't think we need to discuss it anymore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Peggy? Okay, thank you. All right,
Thank you, Your Worship.
pass. We're going to deal with the other one now?
Yeah, the second item of business was the sidewalk installation Juniper Ridge to Balleen Line. And there's a motion here that the town of Torbay cancel the tender Torbay Road sidewalk phase 1 Balleen Line to Darrell Pye Drive. So moved.
Second.
Or seconder?
And I want to speak to that from, I was against this, not against the sidewalk obviously, but certainly against the spend, and I think council had the decision that, you know, we would go to tender and see what actual that would cost, and if it came in at a more reasonable figure, I guess at this point in time we would certainly move ahead with it. The money that was originally in the budget was indeed to be leveraged. We had $1 million in the budget to speak of to essentially leverage, you know, another $3 million against. So I think it'd be more prudent spend for us to be able to spend the $600,000, I think was what it was for this particular tender, and if we could leverage that by a multi-year capital works project, something along those lines, then we could pick up 3 times that amount of money and spend 6, so we could actually get, you know, next year 4 or 5 kilometres done, or 2 kilometres done, whatever.
Microphone.
I'll still hold true to what we discussed way back, and that was, you know, I'd love to see all the place done in sidewalks, especially on the main road. And I think that we should really seriously think about what we were discussing at that time to start at the
Hansling.
Mans Lane and come up. And that was the first site. And I'm not saying anything about the Juniper Ridge children. I have a child over there myself, my grandson over there.
Peggy, can I just interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Do you have a seconder for that? Yes. Okay, all right. Carry on.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I just wanted to see if it was possible, like you said, we got money now that we just saved here. And so in the funding, if we could apply for more funding to see while we're doing one side, we could do the other side as well and bring it up to Marine Drive here.
Well,
Would that be feasible? Because I think, you know,
that's kind of getting outside of what we're talking about here, though. That's more
is
of
it?
that's more of a budget discussion and how we go forward with a phased approach. What you're talking about, right?
Okay, I thought that's what we were doing tonight.
No, we're cancelling this tender.
Okay, you're cancelling that tender too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I would really like to see a sidewalk get put in between Juniper Ridge and our brand-new recreation center. I understand that previously there was talk about going, the Irving to Marine Drive section. However, that was before we had a new school. That was before we had a new recreation center. This actually was a budgeted item. We did put forward, funding proposals for kind of the Cadillac version, sidewalks, the whole 4 kilometers or whatever it is. But we did actually have, in the budget, the contingency. If we didn't get that at the very least, we have the money reserved to take care of this section of sidewalk, again, from our new recreation center to our new school. Because with the recreation center being put up, that's our target audience. These are the kids who after school want to go somewhere. These are the age kids that can actually get out and walk around if they want, right? They can go from school, they can walk to the gym, they can hang with their friends in a nice safe spot, and they can get there safely. And also in particular, we were this close to spending $500,000 on the parking lot. I'm glad that we're doing the crushed stone version, but we weren't planning on paying for this in cash. I think we're going to finance this to a certain extent, so it wouldn't be too big of a chunk. And I do understand we do have some money that we could potentially put forward towards this now. And I'm just concerned. We've been talking about sidewalks for a long time, and it seems like there's always a reason not to do it. And I understand that if you go the Cadillac version, we can get a little bit more bang for your buck. If we wait again. But there might be an excuse next year not to do it. The kids there now, it's not going to matter to them where that money came from, whether it was over 1/3 here, 1/5 there, or the different funding sources. The fact is that we can afford to put it in, and I think we should choose. We budgeted to put it in when we sold the budget to residents last year. This was there, and I think we should go forward with this. It's a safety thing. It leverages our new school, our new recreation center. This is a lot of us when we ran. This is what we said. We said we're going to go for sidewalks. We're going to put sidewalks in. Everyone's knocking on doors and letters, and we're saying this is what we're going to do. And here we have it, and we're on the brink of canceling it. I'd like to see this go through. I would not like to see this cancel, I suppose, is the main thing. Because again, we knew that there was a chance that we weren't going to get that funding, but we built into the budget last year, hey, if we don't get the funding, at the very least, we can have that money to get this at least a little bit section started, and we go section by section, and then eventually we'll get it. If we got to do it piece by piece, then we do it piece by piece. Best thing for residents.
Who else? Go ahead. Microphone, please. Microphone.
Can I ask Councillor Pollard to explain again why we're cancelling it? Please?
You sure can. When the original dollar values were put in the budget, we had said we were going to spend $1 million to gain $4 million, because the original, I think the cost of the sidewalks in the totality was $4 million. So we would have taken $1 million, hopefully gotten $3 million to do the full work. So for every dollar we had, we'd get $3 more from the province. Right now we're saying we're going to spend $600, right, and get nothing. So in order to get the other $3, that means we're going to have to spend another $600 or $1 million to get more money to do that. So what we would normally do under a funded scenario, we could get the full works done for $1 million, whereas if we do piecemeal this way without considering the longer term plan in terms of how we want to spend our dollars and whether or not it's a public road or not a public road, a provincial road, whether or not we're going to get some curb and gutter done for those things, what it's going to cost to actually clear the sidewalks if we own sidewalks at the end of the day. There are more, I guess, factors involved with that decision. It's just, listen, I'm not against sidewalks. I just don't think I think we should try to leverage that $600,000. In absence of that ability to leverage it, I think it's a larger budget discussion to make sure we move forward. And we're only, weeks away from discussing what we're going to do from a budget perspective.
Microphone, please.
I wanted to clarify, because there are people here and they mightn't have understood. like we were told on Monday night. And I understood that on Monday night that we were going to try also to get a meeting with the minister to see about the curb and gutter and see how they can help us out as well. So seeing that, I will support your motion.
Anyone else? Councillor Thorngast, turn on your microphone, please. You can leave it on, you don't have to turn it on.
I just want to elaborate a bit on what Councillor Pollard said with regards, there was money in the budget, but it was put there purposely to leverage getting more funding from the provincial government. I also look at this and say that it's been in the strategic plan and goes back for years, that it would start at Irving and go up to the elementary school. While I hear the need and the reason for looking at Juniper Ridge, I think by having it over on the south side, it would accommodate the elementary school and the high school. There's a lot of students that leave the high school and they go back and forth alongside of the road, on the shoulder of the road, which is often washed away, plus lunchtime and what have you, by being out there. I also have to say that we're setting a precedent by putting the sidewalks in based on the need for our town roads to be upgraded. And we saw this year, although we didn't get the funding to the gas funds to pave the various roads. Now they will be done next year, but there's a lot more that need to have upgrading. I'm a firm believer that while everybody is looking for this, I think everybody, the public, should realize that this is a provincial road, and that if they're not going to support us in some way, that we're setting a huge precedent, and you know that they are going to agree to it based on the fact that it's a necessity. But at the same time, once we do it for the other roads, we're going to look at having it to do it for all roads. And I think therein comes the point that we need to meet with the provincial government to look at the big picture here, rather than just going in and starting it. Because before we know it, we're going to be little by little taking on the maintenance, the salting, the sanding, the plowing off those roads. And I don't think that in our current condition that it's something that the town of Torbay can afford to do. And also, even if we were going to agree to this year, it's not the proper time to do it. It'd have to happen in the spring anyway. So I think discussions need to take place. While I think it's a necessity, we have to be careful of where that money comes from. And we can't be all delighted when we get funding from the provincial government of $300,000 or $400,000 and thinking this is wonderful, because ultimately we're giving them $1 million and this is what we're getting, and the precedent is going to be set. So there's a lot more discussion that needs to take place with regards to this. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Martin?
Thank you. There are many variables to consider. We have the safety of pedestrians. We have the need for crosswalks. I believe there's only one or two in our town. They're very small. But with that said, Councillor Pollard does make a good argument when he discusses the $3 for every dollar and whatnot. I believe it would be better if we tried to go back and get more funding so we could implement a phased approach instead of taking this on ourselves. And in the current condition of the roads as well, I think we really need to work with the government to get some curb and gutter in, as well as upgrades. A lot of the roads, provincially and even our own municipal roads, are in rough shape, and I think it's too premature at this time. So I think I'm going to support the motion to defeat it, the tender, and I think we need to go back to the table. I'm not in any way saying that we don't need sidewalks. We need those. There's many things we need as well. We need accessible transportation and various other projects we're working on. But that's my position, and I'm going to support the motion.
All right. So I think that where I'm to on this is that To me, the fact that it's a provincial road really doesn't matter to me, because it's our residents anyway. However, because of the timing of the year, when we're looking at probably getting this work done in the spring, and the fact that we have some disagreement of where we should start, I think that with that in mind, during our budget discussion that's coming up, that we have a discussion about how much we're willing to put in our budget to do sidewalks, because I want to see them done, and also a contingency in there for a phased approach to how we move forward and where we start, and have that plan laid out so that we can make a plan for over next year and the year after to see that come to completion. I'm not that optimistic that we will get any kind of funding from the provincial government to do that, because they say it's not in their mandate, and it's probably not. It's sidewalks they do not do. So if we intend to do them, we're going to have to do them. That's the bottom line. So we'll have to have that discussion. We're starting our budget discussions. We'll lay out clearly what our plan is going to be, where it's going to go, where we're going to put them, if we can start on one end and start on the other end, or how much we're willing to put in each year to get this done. I know this is a priority for residents. It is in our strategic plan. As we knock off items from the strategic plan and things move up further on the list than ours, that I think this is a main priority for us. It's a main priority for me. And I think that as it stands now, that we wouldn't get this work done most likely until the spring anyway, and that we're paying almost 70%, over 60% of the money that we had allocated to get this much stuff done, and we're going to get this much. I think that we need to take a second look at that and figure out how we're going to go forward. But I would strongly recommend that we have that discussion while we're doing our budget, figure out the contingency for phased-in approach, and make that very clear how we're going to go forward, so we're not into a discussion about we should start here or we should start there. We need to have some good concrete reasons of why we're going to go in one area and why we're going to go in the other. And with that, I'll hand it back to the chair, to Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think everybody's had their go-around, so I guess we just vote.
All right. All in favor of cancelling the tender? All in favor of cancelling the tender?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And
The last item that was on it was, sorry, Your Worship, the last item that was on the meeting was the commentary on the live streaming of council meetings, and the fact that we said we were going to stand when we speak now, so just so that we were going to do. Well, I'm not saying it's because I'm the only person that did it, but just I guess it kind of makes it easier for the audience. And on the live stream thing, I tell you, we've had some fairly good feedback. I've had it from a number of sources actually outside, saying that it was really clear, and the picture was good, and the sound was great, and sort of kudos. So. And it's funny, you don't even think about it now, but now I'm getting nervous. I know that someone's looking at me, so I'm going to sit down.
All right,
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. And with that,
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, do we need to adopt the minutes themselves?
yes, can I have a motion to adopt the committee of the whole minutes from October 28, 2019, please? Over. Councillor Thorngoss moved, seconded by Councillor Roach. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. So that ends our meeting. Our next meeting is, we already announced it last night at our meeting. So entertain a motion to adjourn, please. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.